हेलो एवरीवन, सो वेलकम टू लेक्चर 34 ऑफ मैथ सीरीज। सो स्टार्ट करते हैं पहली स्लाइड के साथ जिसमें चारों क्वेश्चंस हैं. सो यू कैन हैव अ लुक एट देम and let's start with GS1 question. So the question is, how distinct was Vijayanagar architecture compared to its predecessors? Discuss with examples. So the Vijayanagar Empire, which actually lasted from 14th to 16th century with its capital at Vijayanagara or Hampi, had rich heritage of art and culture based in South India in the Deccan Plateau region. Hampi, which is present Vijayanagara, has been listed in UNESCO World Heritage Site also. And there are distinct features of Vijayanagara which actually are differentiated from the previous styles. Okay? And what are these? We'll see. First was soapstone was used by Chalukyas and Hoysala Empire for temple construction, and it was replaced by local hard granite in Badami Chalukya style during Vijayanagara Empire. Example is Vijay Shankara temple. Then plaster is being used for giving smoothness in the Vijayanagara Empire. And then this is also very important. You have carving of large monoliths such as Ganesha at Hampi, and you have even a monolith of Nandi. Then this is very important, that presence of secular structures were there, okay, which was bearing Islamic features in the great city, as many Muslims are employed in the court's army by the Vijayanagara Empire. So the temple architecture was very secular. Next is, there was one of the other distinct features is that the palaces, they were built on raised platforms of granite with water tank inside, which is different from the previous South Indian rulers. So you have examples of Lotus Mahal Palace. Then shrines with image depicting saints worshippers in temples, which was not seen in previous shrines, though architecture was similar to the Chalukyan style, right? And then symmetrical shape of large palaces which normally faces east or northern direction. So we can conclude that Vijayanagara architecture was unique because it was not only influenced by the style of the predecessors, but was combination of a number of different dynasties like Chalukya, Hoysala, Chola and Islamic architecture. Just remember that Vijayanagara Empire is a favorite of UPSC. So just have a look at all the architecture of Vijayanagara from the NCRTs. Okay? Next is GS2. The question is, all at once, India's healthcare suffers from quality, quantity, footprint, access, and affordability issues. Critically analyze. Okay, so we have to critically analyze that whether India's healthcare suffers from these or not. So, this is a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. So, health is the real wealth of the nation, said by Mahatma Gandhi. But India, there are number of issues which are facing India's healthcare. See, India's spend only 1.5% of the GDP on public healthcare, which is very less as compared to the other countries. So since this allocation is less, it leads to this fundamental problem that impacts infrastructure, supply of critical equipment and consumables including syringes, oxygen, etc. Then the number of hospitals and the retained staff of doctors, specialists, nurses and assistants. So the whole problem emanates that we have only 1.5% of the GDP spent on public healthcare, right? Then there's an acute shortage of secondary and tertiary hospitals, a significant shortfall in specialist and specialized equipment. So we have not only lack of the physical infrastructure, but we have also the lack of the social infrastructure as far as healthcare is concerned. Next, access and affordability issues also add to rather a poor prognosis for the health system, right? So as I said, access, availability and affordability of health is an issue, and this is like a bigger problem even in the rural areas. So in the rural areas, this is a bigger problem. Then public health centers, they are not present in many villages, okay, which should be present in the villages, they are not present, right? So it actually impacts the prevention, and early detection of diseases also leads to the burdening of the patients in the tertiary health centers, okay? Then outright price control of the type now mandated for stents is also poor policy. इससे क्या होता है, black marketing वगैरह increase होती है, ठीक है? So it's also poor policy. Just price control really won't do. Then hospitalization costs are exorbitant and impoverishing. ठीक है, out of pocket expenditure is very high, pushing people, already poor people, into the BPL category. Then health insurance covers a fraction of medical expenses incurred. People are not even aware that something known as health insurance it exists. Rigid regulatory framework is there, which is combined with corrupt enforcement, again not helping the causes. Then new challenges like NCDs, pollution, diseases caused due to pollution, they are on the high, ailing the Indian population. Okay, so lots and lots of issues are there. So these issues are there, but what could be the way forward? Way forward could be universalization. Like we have national health policy making strives to make healthcare universal in India. We have this logo, health for all. Public expenditure, 2.5% of GDP has been mandated in the National Health Policy of 2017. So we have to at least reach there. Affordability has to be increased. Okay, like price capping should be there through NLEM. Okay, and then Jan Aushadhi stores should be established. Harnessing private sector, ठीक है, we can actually utilize their strength in strategic purchasing, training, etc. Then active medical tourism, ठीक है, that will actually lead to a lot of like आपके पास पैसे आएंगे उस वजह से. ठीक है, then better regulatory mechanisms and quality control should be there. Digital interventions like telemedicine, etc. can also solve a lot of problems, especially in the rural areas. Then focus should be there on primary health centers, ठीक है, and on the preventive health care, right? Increased coverage of vaccinations and promoting medical pluralism, that is Ayush, etc. should also be promoted. And non-communicable diseases, geriatric health care, mental health, palliative care and rehabilitative care, etc. should be emphasized on. And then you can also say that health, nutrition and sanitation, okay, all of these three should be taken care of to promote the wellness or well-being of the society. Right, next we have GS3. So the question is, examine the lacunae in the national policy on renewables and suggest solutions to overcome these lacunae. So what are the lacunae in this? First is untapping of the investment potential, especially with respect to middle class with rooftop solar. So just an example how we have been incapable on utilizing the investment potential. Then renewable purchase obligation. Mostly all states defaulted in their RPO targets coupled with the poor health of the discoms. Then delays. Land acquisition delays, have put the large-scale wind, solar, hydro projects on back burner. Thus, though tariffs, they are falling. So, we are not able to utilize the falling tariffs. Then next is lack of transmission lines and storage capacity. इससे क्या होता है? You have higher wastages with increasing demand supply gap and congested grids, right? Then legal tussles, ठीक है, जैसे domestic content requirements, ठीक है, this clause which was actually deemed inconsistent with the international laws by WTO, US-India solar disputes. Now it has actually hindered the indigenous boost which would have been given had we won this DCR case. Then funding. Procuring funding for renewable projects remains difficult for corporates due to absence of proper bond market. हमारे देश में proper bond markets नहीं है, उस वजह से भी funding is not that easy for renewables. ठीक है, so SBI must strive to provide friendly environment for the growth of green bond market in India. Then next is improper devolution of responsibility and capacity to locals while providing low focus on the role of community. So lack of awareness and lack of focus on the role of community is also one reason which is lacking in the national policy on renewable energy. So what are the recommendations of way forward? Faster introduction of net metering systems by state utilities. Then you need to encourage investments in rooftop solar. Then we need to exploit the fall of the prices of SPV, solar photovoltaic cells. Okay? That should be there. Then we need to create self-sustaining market with educate demand supply architecture and encouraging private investments. But initial boost from government and international grants, effective use of ISA is necessary. Then you also have something you can quote here, example from Germany or from Kenya, which is community based. Okay, you can actually have micro renewable energy solutions also providing employment to rural areas. Okay, and obviously renewable energy के जो targets हैं उनको meet करने में तो they will always help. ठीक है, देन ग्रीन एनर्जी कॉरिडोर्स, ताकि जो रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी है उसका फ्लो होता रहे नेशनल ग्रिड नेटवर्क में, जिससे कि विच विल एक्चुअली कनेक्ट स्टेट्स विद एक्सेस रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी टू द एरियाज वेयर देयर इज डिमांड, हेल्पिंग इन ब्रिजिंग द एनर्जी गैप, राइट, एंड वेस्टेज इज ऑल्सो डिक्रीज्ड. देन वी नीड टू हैव इफेक्टिव लैंड एक्विजिशन स्ट्रैटेजीज शुड बी देयर. ठीक है, you can use unproductive and non-agricultural land for these parks, solar and wind parks, ठीक है, enabling land friendly forms of biomass energy. Then effective implementation of certain policies like offshore wind policy, national policy on biofuels, sorry, focusing on the concept of mini grids. Then leveraging CSR while increasing the awareness in rural areas, following of national building code and having compulsory BIS norms for all new buildings. Okay? Then incorporating in it retrofitting, redevelopment and greenfield development under the smart city. So all these measures had to be taken care of to actually promote the renewable energy on a larger scale. Then lastly is GS4. Behavior and attitudinal changes are necessary for the success of government initiatives. Illustrate. ठीक है, so as you have seen that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan completed 3 years. ठीक है, today on 2nd October 2017. ठीक है, so why is it important? Why we say that Swachh Bharat has actually has been a great success? Because it has actually led to behavior and attitudinal changes, and on that only this question is based. So let's see, what is the importance of behavioral and attitudinal changes? Firstly, see, an individual's attitudes towards an issue or a problem shapes her actions to a large extent. Hence we need to change the attitude. For example, patriarchal attitude results in subjugation of women, violence against women, etc. Okay, so we need to change a person's attitude to bring a change in the society and for the better success of the schemes. So next is acceptance. See, laws are just social norms widely accepted, right, and thus codified by the state. If people do not accept such laws, they are mere words on the paper. Okay, so the acceptance has to be there of the government scheme. People have to accept that. Okay, so उसके लिए we need to have an attitudinal change. So there is a law against dowry, but it is not practiced. Okay, still dowry is practiced. Okay. Then weak implementation. Weak implementation क्या है? Unless a wide consensus is not made, ठीक है, not only general public but implementing agencies will not be much enthusiastic in the implementation. Like Lokpal bill, though passed, is still waiting for the implementation. Then participation also has to be there. Any government initiative, it requires proactive participation of civil society, NGOs, media, masses for the proper wide-scale implementation. And it is not only the responsibility of the government personnel or government departments, it should be a multi-stakeholder movement. ठीक है, like it can be seen in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. जैसे कि आप बोल सकते हो, we had right from the film stars, ठीक है, to sports person, ठीक है, so many people were there who actually created the stir, making it a success. ठीक है, so Swachh Bharat is widely appreciated. Hence we see large scale celebrity, media, mass participation, right? So also important is people friendly attitude, sensitivity on the part of the government officials. So proper training and attitudinal molding is required. So we can say that we have to reach the all sections of the society. For example, women, right, address the social issues. We have to address the underlying social issues if there are any, okay, to make any government scheme a success. In all, we need an attitudinal change to make it a success. And you can obviously quote the example of let's say Darwaza Band campaign under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is there, okay, and then there is so that kind of brings the attitudinal changes, the behavioral changes, right? So we need to have a lot of that. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.